How do you look back at 2023 now? Like, how do you feel about that whole year? And also, how do you think you'll feel about it in 5 or 10 years?
Probably to date, 28 years on this planet now, and it's the worst year of my life. Um, so far, the biggest learning experience and the biggest learning curve and the biggest learning year I've ever had to go through, but extremely difficult to deal with mentally, emotionally. Obviously lost my first fight in my professional career in May, which is going back almost 12 months now. And coming back from that then and winning, obviously finished off the year strong and on a high and winning and stuff, but not how I pictured my 2023 going at all, and not how I wanted it to go. And yeah, an extremely difficult year for me to deal with physically, emotionally, come back from it, because I've been dealing with adversity my whole life, and I feel like I'm very, very good at dealing with and coming back from adversity and being able to use a negative or a setback and use it as motivation to get back and to achieve goals. So um usually disappointing year, but a massive learning year, and one I think I will look back on when my career is said and done and in 20 years time and say, yeah, now I'm glad that it happened and it taught me this and it taught me that. But at the time, I've taken the lessons from it, but still extremely hurtful to this day, and will be, I think, for a number of years until I finish my career, reach my full potential, achieve all my goals, and then I can look back on it then with a positive note. But right now, still hurts to talk about, and I'm quite open about it. But yeah, really, really difficult thing to deal with, obviously.
hmm It's interesting you say that because you obviously started the year kind of on high flying form. You just had a 30-second knockout, just had a contract extension with Matchroom. You obviously fought Wilfredo Flores in February in Nottingham, I believe.
Yeah.
So, what was life like going into that? Because it seems, obviously, from the outside looking in, that everyone was on cloud nine and things couldn't be going better for you career wise.
Yeah, literally, before you said everybody was living on cloud nine, I was about to answer, I was living on a cloud, like, because that's what it was like. Um, Things were just starting to move really, really fast, and it was something that I'd always planned and dreamt of, but I don't know, maybe looking back now, something that I wasn't really ready for at that time. But looking back now at my performance and how the lead up to my fight in May was and stuff, got a little bit carried away with myself, and I was on a 5 fight knockout spree, and it wasn't only like stopping guys, it was knocking guys out in 1 round, 2 rounds, and drafting these undefeated guys over from France, and um having Wilfredo Flores come over from the States undefeated, and just walking through these guys, and just thought that I could walk through anybody and I could smash anybody up. And I was going into fights just looking for the kill all the time and not actually thinking about my boxing skills to what got me to where I'm at. I was a very successful amateur. I won a European gold medal in the youths, and my skills and my technical ability got me to where I got to. And then I started getting really strong and focusing more on my strength training, and putting pressure and getting fit and putting pressure on these guys and being stronger and bigger. And I'm obviously a big lightweight, and um, I'm tall, I'm strong, and I'm just going to be too big, too strong, too fit for these guys and walk through them all. But kind of forgot and let my boxing skill set go out the window a little bit. Um, and paid the ultimate price, obviously, in May. But yeah, I think, like I said, I got a little bit carried away. Everybody was on cloud nine, and it was just Gary Cully's going to be a superstar and is a superstar, and he's the next one coming, and he's going to headline shows and win world titles, and all them things I still believe are true. But we obviously had a big setback last year. Coming back from it now, got the win back in November. Get another win on my next fight in May. We're looking at now, and push on to start climbing them rankings again and winning them world titles that I've been dreaming of since I've been a kid and since I started boxing.
Just circling back to that show in May. So you obviously were announced that you were going to be co-main eventing Katie Taylor's Homecoming, the Three Arena. But you didn't actually get an opponent announced till 2 or 3 weeks out. So internally, what were your honest first thoughts when it was Jose Felix first mentioned and also fully agreed?
It was kind of like I accepted probably 10 or 12 fights before Jose Felix was offered, and they were all turned down or fell through for some reason or another. And it was getting to the point where it was just like, I'm built up to be this superstar, and it's 3 weeks out from this fight that I've been on the card as co-headline since it's been announced, and this whole undercard has been added, and there's all these big fights on this undercard, and the headline is a huge fight as well, and it's the first fight that's back in Dublin for, let's say, big time boxing for the last 10 or 15 years since Bernard Dunn was there. And I found myself 3 weeks out from the event with no opponent, and after accepting 10 guys, and it was nearly at the stage where, like, am I going to fight here at all? Like, I went to sleep some nights thinking, like, are they going to get me an opponent? Who am I going to be fighting? And it's all well and good saying that I'm good enough and I'll fight anybody and all of this kind of stuff, but you also, at the highest level in sport and the highest level in boxing, you need training camps to prepare for world class fighters. Um, and this is not me making an excuse, because Jose Felix also had 2 weeks to prepare for me, and he came and did what he did. But looking back, I would have obviously liked to have an opponent 8 weeks out. Like, we had an opponent locked in, I feel like, 8 to 10 weeks out, and then that fell through, and then another one popped up, and then that fell through, and then all of a sudden, like I said, you're at 2 weeks out, and it's like, just give me anybody. And then they threw Jose Felix up, and the only kind of research I did into him was, I'm training with Tyrone McKenna at the moment. Tyrone beat him. I'm sparring Tyrone all the time. We're having good spars. I can beat him too, like. And that's really all the research I did into Jose Felix. Which, looking back now, was silly of me, and I learned a lesson from that. But I didn't do much research. I've said since in a couple of interviews that probably didn't show him enough respect, probably overlooked him a little bit. But yeah, the research I did to him was just, Jose Felix pops up, you've got no opponent, Tyrone beat him, yeah, let's jump in with him. Believe that I was one of the best lightweights in the world, still believe that, and believe that I can beat anybody on my day. So said, yeah, let's get it, and obviously didn't put in the right performance and didn't get it right on the night. But look, that is what it is. I believe that on my day, didn't have my day on May 20th last year. On my day, I believe I beat Jose Felix every day of the week. Had an off day in May, and it was his night that night.
On the fight week in Dublin, it seemed like you had a mountain of media obligations. I know you did the after hours with JD, press conferences, and then you also had a weight to make and probably the biggest fight of your career ahead of you on Saturday. Just walk me through a little bit, like, your headspace from the Monday all the way through to Saturday. Was it a touch overwhelming? Did you feel comfortable in it, or do you think it factored in any way to a performance that you got on Saturday?
Nah, I felt fully 100% comfortable in doing every minute of fight week. I believe that that's the sort of events, the size of that event was something that Ireland hadn't seen in, like I said, since the Bernard Dunn days, like 15 years before that, and probably even bigger than what Bernard Dunn would have brought. Like, the fight week was, every day was a big event. The press conference was big. Everybody wanted to be at the press conference. The public workout was huge in Dundrum. All of these events were big, and I think it's something that I'm made for and that I take in my stride. All that kind of stuff is fun to me. It's like, at the end of the day, I was a kid joining a boxing club at 7 years of age, dreaming of doing all this stuff. So that was me. That whole week was just living my dream. Like, probably maybe made me take my eye off the ball a little bit, where you're going to do all these things and having fun, and you're not really focused on the fight. But that can also play out to be a good thing sometimes, where you're not fully focused and overthinking the fight, because when the fight comes, and you're going to do what you're going to do anyway. So I think I've learned over the last 6 years of being a professional that all this time that you spend thinking about it and worrying about it, or being nervous or being excited, it's all wasted energy anyway, because you're going to get in, you're going to follow your game plan to the best of your ability, and what's going to happen is going to happen anyway.
Most fighters, obviously, when they lose a big fight or they lose a fight that they were a favorite in, there's usually something that, whether it be for their own mentality or just to the public, that they can pin it on. There's usually we hear like, oh, the weight was hard, or the camp wasn't great, might have been injury, or do you have something in your head you feel you can pin it on, or is your opinion more so that it's high level sport, it's just you got caught with a shot and didn't recover, or a combination even of the two?
Yeah, combination of the two. There's like, I could sit here and tell you 10 different things that went on in the camp and in my preparation and all of this kind of stuff. But I'm sure Jose Felix had a couple of things as well. He only got short notice. He was drafted in at 3 weeks' notice. Um, I'm sure he's got his problems that he had as well. And every fighter who gets into a ring, I can guarantee it, like 99% of the time, there's an injury there, or there's something that happened in camp in their personal life, or something like that. So, like I said a second ago, I was going through a couple of things there, but all these things they come across as excuses. Look, we're in a conversation now, and I take full responsibility. Why I lost was I got the performance wrong on the night, and that's it. There's obviously all these factors that factor into play, and it could have been this and it could have been that, but ultimately I take responsibility. It was down to my mistake on the night that caused me to lose, you know.
Obviously, the days after the loss, you go from having loads of media in front of you and loads of fans in front of you to kind of just being within your own thoughts, probably just family around you. What are those even 3 or 4 days after that Saturday night like, when it's just, no cameras, no media, just you and your own thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard, man. Myself and Danielle went to, there's a hotel we like to spend some time in after fights, the Armada Hotel. It's in West Clare,
Yeah.
and they bring us down after my fights and after I've had a tough training camp, and we relax down in West Clare for a couple of days. But it's very quiet down there, and there's not much to do, and it's kind of one of these places where we go just to get away from the world type thing. But I remember waking up from probably on the Sunday morning, woke up on the Sunday morning and kind of had to give myself a shake and kick myself and say, "Nah, you're not dreaming. This is actually," thought I was waking up from a nightmare type thing, and going, "Nah, this is actually life now. This is actually it did happen." Because I didn't believe that I was ever going to lose, or that never come into my mind, and I don't think it should. It was ever a possibility, like, of me losing, because, like I say, I trained so hard, I worked so hard, I believed in myself so much. So um, it's not something that ever kind of crossed my mind. Um, but waking up the couple of days after, like I said, we went down to West Clare on the Monday, and it was just myself and Danielle for a couple of days, and it didn't really hit me down there because we were away, and we were just like, we just spent some time together, because obviously when I'm in training camp, I'm away for 8 or 10 weeks, and I've got a girlfriend at home who, she might see me every day and she might live with me, but she's not getting me really, because I'm in camp and I'm in fight mode, and I go into a different mode and I'm not really present and not really there sometimes. So I feel like after my fights, I have to give her some time back as well. So I'm very conscious and very aware of that. And when we went, even after the loss, when we went, it probably affected her just as much as it affected me as well. So I had to go away and give her some time back, and let her know that I appreciate her as well, and appreciate her for being there for me through it, and before it and after it. And we went away, we spent some time, that was okay. Kind of, like I said, was living in denial for a little bit that it didn't really happen. And then it was probably more so the couple of weeks after, when Danielle goes back to work and all your mates are back in work, and the phone stops ringing then, and then you're waking up on a Monday morning and you're kind of like, everybody's in work, my missus is in work, my mates are in work, what do I do now? And for me, it was just get back to the gym and get back training. It's something that kind of helps me throughout my life, physically, obviously, in my sport, obviously the sport I've chosen and the job I've chosen. It helps me to be in the gym as much as possible, but helps my mental health as well. And I kind of just went to the mindset of get as strong as possible, and that's what was going to help me get through it, getting as strong as possible, both mentally and physically. And I kind of chose, when my mentals were down a little bit, I chose to get physically stronger and just go hard in the gym. And I probably just spent a week in the gym by myself, just going hard, running as hard as I could, as fast as I could, lifting as much weight as I could, as heavy as I could. And it kind of helped me to get through it. Just feeling strong and feeling like it gives me control over something, like, and um, it helps me. It helped me to get through it, feeling strong physically, because then I could also try and lift my mentals to that level. But it did. It took a while. Like, it took maybe 4 or 5 months before I started like really delving into it, and I'm probably still doing that now, even after people think that, like, oh yeah, he come back in November and he got a win and put in a performance, and now his loss is behind him, but it's still living with me now, like, and I'm sure going into my next fight I will. It's just a part of my life now that I have to deal with, but it's an experience that I've learned from that can be used as a positive as well. It doesn't always have to be used as a negative or as a bad thing. It's something that I've learned a lot of lessons from as well, and that I can use in a positive way as well going forward.